see there are men on the platform. In fact, there were supposed to be 2 women speakers, Claudia Webb and Shah, coming to the meeting with Julian Bell. And I just want to explain what has happened, and I want to be open and transparent as to the process that took place over the last 2 days and the reasons why they can't make today. And I'll make all the emails available on our Facebook and internet so people can judge for themselves. Some time ago, I'll start with Julian Bell first. Julian Bell last week indicated that he was delighted to be invited to this meeting and he was looking forward to speaking and asked me how long he'd have to speak at the meeting. And I obviously told him that he would have the same time as any other speaker, which is about 10 to 15 minutes. So this morning, I got an email from him, and I'm just going to read it out to you so you understand. And he said that, Suresh, I have decided not to attend the meeting tonight, having received reports about the divisions within the community that your campaign is causing. It is not something that needs to be exaggerated, and unfortunately I feel your meeting tonight will do so. Please accept my sincere apologies. Tried to contact him, he didn't answer his phone, and then I wrote to him explaining what the purpose, the aim of the meeting was. Bear with me for a couple of minutes, I'm just going to read this out to you, which explains exactly why and what we think was going to happen at this meeting. Dear Julian, thank you very much for your email. I'm saddened by the reports that you've received about possible divisions that may be caused by our campaign. Can I assure you that creating conflicts or divisions have never been our intention, purpose or aim. It never will be in the future, regardless of the final outcome in this case. On the contrary, we have taken great care in our promotional material not to mention the name of the favoured bidder during the legal process, as their identity is irrelevant to us. We are only interested in saving public space and public assets and keeping them in public hands. Indeed, from the outset, our intention has always been in bringing different communities together and establish an iconic town hall that is a new beacon of hope, unity and solidarity, especially for those communities that remain marginalized, women, young people, disabled people, and various BME group communities, including those amongst us who are the most vulnerable or marginalized. I have to say that I was surprised by the VHK-led demonstration outside the town hall last week on Thursday during the GC meeting. Many of those who initially came are my family friends who had been provided with the wrong facts in this case. I only intervened peacefully when I heard comments about the fear that the town hall would be sold to different religious groups, and when inappropriate comments were being made about the complainant in this case, who is a 73-year-old pensioner. Some of them made attempts to storm the building, and one of them is here today, so maybe we can hear from him why they did that, to disrupt the Labour GC meeting. The VHP leader is full of inaccuracies. The letter is full of inaccuracies about the case, the court judgment, and the organisation involved in the campaign. Despite this, I was encouraging a meeting between us, a request that we have continually made to the VHK on 5 different occasions, 3 times before we launched the campaign, and specifically to avoid any divisions or misunderstandings on this case. One should ask oneself, why is it that the VHK have become so angry now, 4 months after the decision of the court and after their failure, despite being listed as an interested party in this case, and refusal to participate in the legal process in its entirety over the year. I reiterate, we are willing to meet their representatives to discuss our approach and aims at any time they wish to. Can I also assure you that the purpose of the meeting is not to have a slanging match or deride the Labour Party in any way. It is not. It is to constructively discuss the differences we have and to engage the public in the town hall and the wider austerity debate. if we wanted to have a slanging match, we would have invited members of other political parties who have significant differences with you. Indeed, all we have done is to invite other respectable members of the party, your party, and I do not believe their presence will sow any divisions. Unless you supply us with special reasons and share your reports about the divisions, I would strongly encourage you to review your decision and attend the meeting and speak. All the speakers will be listened to with respect, and I'm happy for both of us to make a public call for unity. Surely this is the leadership that is most required now in the period of rumors for divisions. I would urge you to once again, this is my fourth request, to meet us so that we can have a productive discussion on the way forward. I rang him again, I haven't heard from him. It's a complete correspondence between me and Julian Bell. I then got a call, I've had 4 calls from Claudia Webb, and a number of calls from the leadership of the Labour Party, and 5 calls from Naz Shah. Naz Shah's last text, is only about 10 minutes ago, and she says, the temple have written to Jeremy's office and Julian Bell and Claudia and have pulled out and have been asked not to speak at this meeting as it is being promoted as an anti-Hindu event by people I do not understand why. Okay? I'm surprised that this is being said because I know what you do and that you've never been anti-religious at all. It also says that your organization has bid for the temple and only developed a court case when you lost the bidding, apparently. We need to speak as soon as possible, right? I will clarify that I do not belong to the Southall Community Association. I'm the chair of the campaign, which is composed of many organizations, at least 20. And when I discussed with Naz a few minutes ago, both of us decided, rather than her come now, because of the feelings that have been generated by the VHK, and because she's a Muslim MP coming from Bradford, it actually may be better for her not to come because that will be used against her. And I actually agree that that's the kind of politics that are being played. So she's agreed not to come. In fact, she was on her way on an Uber with her children to come for 10 minutes, make the statement and go. And I think it's not good for a woman in that position who's been in a debate in Parliament talking about the budget and austerity to be placed in the situation of coming just for this purpose. So I agree that she doesn't need to come. Claudia has spoken to me, and so has Jeremy's office, and what they've said is that they don't understand the politics of Southall. Virendra Sharma has written 2 emails and made 7 phone calls over today. I don't know why he's doing that when he should be in the debate on the budget and reflecting the views of Southall and the impact of austerity in Southall. He spent all his time today trying to force Jeremy Corbyn to put pressure on us to cancel the meeting. And in fact, his office did ask me whether I should cancel the meeting, and he's willing to facilitate a meeting, 3-way meeting between ourselves, the temple, and the Labour Party leadership. I've said to him that we are more than willing to meet anybody, and we are happy to facilitate, but we are not able to cancel the meeting, although I can tell certain people, but it's not possible to cancel the meeting at 5:30 when it's supposed to start at 7:30. Now, what I do want to say is this. Right from the outset, before we launched the campaign, a number of us went to the temple on many occasions, asking them to meet us. In fact, before even I got involved, the SCA, the South Community Alliance, had met with temples, and they did not object for the campaign to start or anything like that. Yes, they can speak for themselves. When I went to the temple on the first occasion, the police were there because of an infighting during the elections, so they cancelled the meeting. On the second occasion, I went with 2 other people, and we met the then temple president, who listened to us and said he'd come back but couldn't make a decision because it was in the middle of the elections. I then went back after the election seeking a meeting with the new president, met a lady on the reception, who then put me on to the finance secretary or the finance person. And when I said to him that I wanted to talk to him, his attitude was very simple. This is between you and the council. You need to talk to the council. We don't need to meet you. We will get the building, and you don't need to be in this building whatsoever. And after our protest, a number of us who supported us have been asked to leave the temple simply because of their support of us. I say to people now, those people who are here from the temple and those outside, this is not an issue for us about religion. It makes no difference for us whether the favourite bidder is a religious organisation, a multinational or a private individual. Even if it was my family bidding for the town hall, I would object to it. Because the principle of keeping a public space in public hands is absolutely critical for us. And that's all that matters. Nothing about the identity of the bidder. We are objecting to it on that basis. If we want to communalize the issue, and a lot of people have VHT members who are RSS members, who want to create a conflict, that would be on your hands. It's something that we will not rise to, and it's something that we will confront if we need to confront, but in a peaceful manner. This campaign is about saving Southall Town Hall, and we will keep on campaigning to get massive support within the Labour Party and getting support within the local population. I just do not understand why people are so angry after 4.5 months after the decision. It's obvious that the council want to put it back on the market, and rather than have a discussion with us on what's possible, what's been decided by the council, despite opposition from Labour councillors from this area, 7 of them out of 15, it seems that the leadership does not want to meet us. And I think we need to put pressure on them to say that happens. So I will use any influence that Jeremy has to facilitate a meeting. Sorry, I'm just getting a text from Nesha as I'm speaking, and she's asked me to read something out for you, and I just want to do that to be true to her. So let me just get the... this is a text that has just arrived from Nesha. This evening, I haven't read it, so I don't know what it says, but I'm going to read it as it says. This evening, I was due to speak at a meeting entitled Austerity and Equality, the battles to save public services in Southall Town Hall, on the issue of austerity and how it impacts BME communities. I commend Suresh Grover and the Southall Community Alliance for the work they are doing to highlight this acute problem and to campaign against the sell-off of public assets of community value. However, it has become clear that the local Hindu community, specifically the VHK temple, object to the meeting on the grounds that they feel it is playing a divisive role in a dispute which damages them. In the light of this information, I feel the best role I can play as a Shadow Minister for Women and Equalities is to facilitate a private meeting between Ealing Council and the campaign and the alliance, which will help to resolve the problem rather than play it out in a public arena. I look forward to working with all the groups involved to make positive progress for the community. And that's just come from Nesha, Member of Parliament for Bradford West. I think I'll stop there and then allow other people to speak, and then if I want to come back about what our intentions are, I'll do that. Okay? Thank you, John Paul. I prepared a speech so that Julian Bell could hear us, but he's not here. But what I want to do is raise a number of key points that I think we need to register in our heads and our minds and have them at the forefront of any strategy we develop to save the town hall from now on. When we first started the campaign almost a year and a half ago, we were on the back foot. The information was controlled by the council. We didn't have a claimant and we didn't have any solicitors. We had to create a legal strategy, get the lawyers, force for ourselves to think how to save the town hall, and luckily met a 73-year-old pensioner who was willing and able to support the legal quest that we undertook. And you know, we have to thank Mr. Paul because of the intimidation and threats he suffered from a number of people in Southall, including some councillors who didn't want us to undertake the legal action. Took us a long time. We mobilized. We used our own strength and our own self-reliance. We made sure that it wasn't just led by one community. We had people from the Africas, the Somali community. We had women, the Southern Black Sisters and other people involved in it. We had people who had been part of anti-racist campaigns and movements in this town from the 1970s. Balraj Puriwal, the founder of the Southall Youth Movement, when Chagga was killed. Many of us here, like Harsev, Ravi, myself, Oliver, Eve, were involved in the 1979 events when National Front came and we mobilized against them. Many of us were taken to courts and punished for resisting racism. Some of us were involved in the 81 events when the skinheads came and we fought against them. So we made sure that those who were involved in the campaign were from all different aspects and reflective of the communities that live and breathe and work in this area. And you know, we became innovative. We knew that the hurdles that would come to us would be enormous. We took exceptional care that this issue would not be communalized. As I said before, and I make this point again, it actually makes no difference to us who wants to take the town hall. We want to preserve it in the hands of people and public, and for the public to decide with the council what the vision of the town hall should be. This year, before the court case, we took over the town hall to involve large sections of the community. We created a flag, a people's flag, and that flew over the town hall, reflecting different political strands that we believed in. Women's issues, the green issue, the issue of supporting workers, all coming together in the movement that we wanted to create. And we won a tremendous legal victory. A victory that neither the council or anybody else in the Labour Party thought we would win. But we didn't gloat when we won. We actually ran the council in a very humble way and said, let's start thinking on how to save the town hall. What are the key elements in that? Not just the legal, but the political aspects of that legal victory. Shamefully, I have to say this, and it cannot be forgotten. The fact that this council failed in its equality duties, given that we are such a diverse borough run by Labour, is shocking. It didn't understand that its decision had adverse impact on women, on other faith groups, on BME communities, on disabled people, and it's not the first time that this has happened. 10 years ago, it failed that equality impact assessment when it cut the grant of the only black women's organization in Southall, the Southall Black Sisters. This is the second time it's been found to be institutionally racist. And I said to the council, let's learn the lessons so it's not repeated again. And the response of the council was actually the decision made by a judge living in Ivory Tower. rather than understand the consequences of it. The fact is, the decision and the process used by the council to sell off the building was unlawful and is impact discriminatory. I need to learn from that lesson. And I said that we are willing to work together so we can move forward. And all our pleas fell on deaf ears. We met councillors, those who opposed us and those who wanted to work with us, secretly and in public. So we didn't want to out anybody, because we need to work with people in power who can make those decisions. We are ordinary people running campaigns. We won in law, in the courts, but the decision is still by politicians. Some councillors said to us they're with us, but they cannot attend meetings because a 3-line whip has been passed by the council leader that they'll be disciplined. I don't know whether that's true or not, but if it is, it's outrageous that that can happen when these issues are live and very important to people in this town. Second aspect, which I want to raise, is the whole issue of finances. The first question that we would have asked Julian if he was here is, Julian, tell us the truth. Is the town hall making a loss or a profit? Because in 2015 and 16, according to the legal arguments, it was making a loss of £1,000. Just £1,000. Not 20, 30, 40,000, making a loss of £1,000. But inside information from officers have come about that actually last year and this year it's made 60,000 profit. Is that true, Julian? If it is true, why are you trying to sell the building despite austerity? Does that actually match what is being said publicly? What was said to us publicly by the leadership of the council is that it's making a huge loss and it's a drain on council resources. And therefore we need to put it in for sale. It's actually not making a loss, it's making a profit. And if Julian doesn't answer this question openly and transparently, all we have to do is a freedom of information request, and we'll have it in public cloud in 2 weeks' time. So it's better to be transparent and open about it. If it is making that profit, then why is it being labelled to be sold off? For the council, it's just brick and mortars, building which is no history or legacy in this area. It's simply a unit, a commodity that can be sold off. They do not care about the impact that the sale of the building will have. That's the third point I want to make. It's critical that we in our communities, given the transition that is taking place with regeneration, with the transportation, with new people coming in the next decade in this area, that we begin to have a vision that we can all possess and share and agree on. A community without a vision will not exist, it will perish. And the town hall, as a beacon, as a centre which has a legacy, there has been proposals to cut it before. And to our amazement, the previous leadership of the Labour Council under John Cutmore actually agreed that it should not be sold. He put it back into the community use. The leadership of the Tory party and the Liberal Democrats actually believe that the town hall should not be sold. You may think they are being politically opportunistic, but actually what it shows is that there's no financial imperative for it to be sold. And actually, if you look at the history of assets being sold, you know that the financial argument is wasteful. Because this leaflet shows that in Southall, over the last 30 to 40 years, 10 places that are owned by the public through the council have been sold, not because there's any financial hardship, even in periods of boom, they've been sold. And it tells you every single building that has been sold. So there's a compulsive problem that we have within the council. who do not see buildings for what they are. That place, as Oliver and my other colleagues have said, is used by 10,000 people every year. People come from immigration advice. People who require social services support come to it. People who require any form of advice, assistance, come to that place. It harbors 15 to 20 organizations in it. Communities, charities, small businesses. It is not an empty space where you can reallocate people simply because there aren't places in Southall. It has one of the most marginalized communities, the Somalian community, centers, offices based in there, people using their own businesses, etc. It has the possibility with new entrants, residents coming into Southall, of becoming a place which can actually begin to display and promote the history of Southall and look forward to the future. It can involve schools in that process. It's a building that we will use to commemorate the 40th anniversary of Blair Beach's murder and the April events next year in April. It'll be a pivotal place where school children will come and learn about the history, where workers will come and explain what they did, etc. It is critical that we have a building that people can call its own and shape its future in the way that we need. The values we have are very similar to the leadership of the Labour Party. There's no difference in the values that we have on that show. We have a real problem with the reluctance and damnation that this current leadership of the Labour Party, for some reason we do not understand, wishes to sell this building without explaining the specific reasons for to a local religious group. They're absolutely convinced that that will happen. And Julian needs to explain why is he so afraid of us when we're willing to meet him. What is it that makes him think that we are a threat to his political power? What is it that we have done which he's so frightened of that he can't come and attend this meeting? If there is going to be disunity, surely he should be in this platform calling for unity over all us. That's what leaderships are, and that's what they have to be. And you've seen from here that we don't want discord amongst religious groups. We've always fought oppression wherever it comes. What we don't want is a building where different religious groups cannot go to, where women do not feel safe to go to, where people who have no faith cannot go to. We need a building that has a secular standing, which is not anti-religious, but it is controlled by ordinary people, where all forms of religions are welcome, where people who really are vulnerable can use, from the African, Caribbean, Asian, Somalian, whether you are religious or not, young or old, women, etc., can use it. That's the vision that we want to create. And surely that vision should be created by people who are active in Southall with the current leadership of the council. And we implore that the leadership listen to us. One last final thing. In Southall, unfortunately, I've been here for 40 years, some people have been for longer, actively. Nothing has come to us on our plate. Everything has been forced by us. Whether it's the 79 events, when the skinheads came and we took them on and they've never been seen in Southall since. Whether it's workers organizing in factories to unionize themselves and get better conditions. Everything has come from it. Whether it's women arguing against sex discrimination, forming their own organizations. Whether it's Indian workers or African organizations coming and representing self-interest, etc. Everything seems to be done by us without any assistance from any people in power. This campaign is the campaign of this year, and next. The outcome of it will decide the town that you wish to live in. The outcome will decide whether we can create a community which looks like us, of different color, of different gender, a rich mix of different flavors, trying to take hold and build and plan for the future. That is what is at stake today. And I urge everyone to join this campaign. Thank you very much. I don't want to add anything to what other speakers have said, but there are alternatives taking place to austerity. Within Labour Party, local government, up and down the country, there's a Preston model which has revitalized through cooperative work, involving people who have seen their jobs losses, the town centres being closed, coming back by working together to rebuild those communities. And all we are actually saying is look at those alternative models and set up a budget which meets the needs of those communities. The problem with areas like Southall and Acton, mainly BME working class area, is that it suffered from disproportionate cuts over decades and decades and decades, despite the fact that councils get huge amount of money from central government to settle asylum seekers, refugees, etc. But that money isn't coming here. That's the problem. And it should be coming into this area. We're not saying we are antagonistic to the council. We were forced to take legal action. We didn't choose to become anti-Labour. We are not anti-Labour. We have very close relationship with some of us, with central leadership of Labour Party, who actually agree with our aspirations, but they're helpless in forcing local government to their viewpoint. And I think what we are saying to them is, here is a campaign which is willing to work with you. Here is a centre that you can work on to save it because of the specific needs of that community. And they're not simply listening to that voice. And we need to work out why that is. But I agree with what others have said in terms of setting the budget, having a different philosophy, meeting the needs of those communities. One last thing that I want to say, the question that you asked, which needs to be addressed, continually in areas like Southall, the support services for newer communities, and the Somali community is not new, it's been there for a long time, continuously keeps raised by people from the community. And one of the saddest things is, Mr. Haji, you asked me to set up a meeting with Claudia and with Nasha, and I have emailed them saying we will meet you in private to discuss the problems you have, both in terms of the democracy deficit that exists here and the needs of that community. And I can't deliver that because they're not here. But I've had a message from them saying they're willing to meet you on a separate occasion with that community. I and other people are willing to work with your community, and I don't see that's different from our community, to look at the specific needs and campaign and make sure that politicians listen to the voices that aren't being heard. That's all I can do, and I'm willing to spend a huge amount of time and energy in rebuilding that kind of campaign to service under-resourced, marginalized communities. And it's a commitment that I have whether we win the campaign or not. So I think it's important to recognize that. It's how other communities and sections of Southall rebuild their own energy and their own space, etc. And I think it's important that we work together to build that new future that we can have. And I do believe it's possible to do it if we have a new government, but this local Labour Party needs to come with us in the future. And I have to say, what really worries me and concerns is the issues that the VHK are using to divide us, and we have to address them. Trump is not about political right only, or the far right. It's the religious right combining with the far right. And if you don't understand that weapon and their aggressiveness, we will never understand how to take them on. For example, the demand they have is justice for the Hindu community. What does that actually mean?
What they are saying is, if they don't get the town hall, injustice is being perpetrated against them. They already have a temple, not 1, 3, 4 temples here. And they expect, in their arrogance, to be given that town hall, when actually it's the only public asset in this area. People say Dominion Centre is a public asset. It's got the lease from the council owns the lease, but it's actually owned by the Indian Workers Association. And Mr. Panese will remember, who's the president of the East African Senior Citizen Group, the council tried to sell this 5, 6 years ago. Yes. We had to campaign to make sure that it was sold. So it isn't just dependent on the austerity, etc. And the last thing I want to say is that look at the demands they make about justice for the Hindu community. They don't speak for the whole of the Hindu community. They're speaking about they speak for the management committee, a section of it at the BHK. We're willing to meet them, but compare that to the justice that real victims are fighting. The Grenfell victims who have lost lives, which we work with, people who get killed in racial attacks and domestic violence, people who have come thousands of miles away from other countries because of genocide and because of World Bank policies which have displaced communities. That's what we call real justice, not the ability to buy a building which doesn't belong to us. So this kind of scaremongering needs to be taken on immediately. And what they will do, they're not interested in facts. It's just attack, 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 and throwing dirt on you. And unless we learn that, we will have a Modiism, the new Modi factor in Southall. I'm sorry to say, we have to take this on. We cannot tolerate bigotry or religious division or intolerance or fundamentalism to come into politics. If we do that, it's a losing battle for us. So we have to remain united, and we have to respect each other, and we have to learn the ability to ensure that we learn the lessons of the struggles that we fought and the struggles that are emerging collectively. That's the only hope we have. Otherwise, we'll be divided within 5, 6 months on this issue, and we cannot afford to be divided. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time. I know there were a few other questions, but we're out of time. Just a few things. Will you please join me in applauding the contributions of Paul, Suresh, and Oliver, and of everybody else. And finally, just to remind you that this meeting was called by the Save Southall Town Hall campaign. We haven't actually saved it yet. All we've won is a legal case somewhere in London with strangers. So what we need is everybody to stay with us, united, and keep the fight going.